Good morning. It's Thursday, February 26th. We are in this committee. We are working really hard as far as to get our miscellaneous ag bill out. We have a lot of subjects in there that are protecting and helping farming throughout the state. But we're never too important that we don't meet with the groups that we are representing, and today is one of those days. We have a Rural Vermont annual Small Farm Action Day. We have some of their members in here, and I think we're going to hear a lot about what's going on with them. So, who would like to lead off?
Yeah, maybe just as a welcoming word, Caroline Sherman Gordon, Legislative Director of Rural Vermont, just thank you all very so much for having us. Our Small Farm Action Day format is really a platform where we offer our members to come forward and express from their own perspective how either the priorities we're working on right now relate to what they're experiencing on the ground, but really we're not prescribing what people want to say in this format.
Yeah.
It's kind of an open door also from you all to her, maybe a more diverse group of people that are often small farmers or even on the homestead scale and what's important to them. So we're kind of just a facilitator and making sure in relationship to you guys, you have an opportunity to take an hour and hear such a broader view of perspective. So thank you so much for taking this time. We know time is short right now, and I will not say any more. And I think
and we have an hour, so make sure everybody gets through with what they want to say. We got a hard stop at 10. Actually, we had made a commitment on this one, and we want to honor that. So I'm going to shut up. So go ahead.
So I think Maria, maybe I'm start us off.
Hi, everyone. Thank you again for having us up here.
Thank you for being here.
So I'm Maria Merriam. I am Rural Vermont's board chair, which is, as you know, one of the larger member organizations in the state. I live in Stratford. I'm a farm worker on a dairy farm. I'm a young farmer, and I have 14 acres with my housemate that's enrolled in current use for pasture and hayfield. And so I'm here to talk about today something that's not in front of you yet, but mostly to give you a heads up if it does come across your desk, and depending on what happens with the House. Recently, House Ag made changes to Section 5 of the 2026 miscellaneous tax bill, and they were introduced to clarify that any land used for grazing should qualify for current use. Rural Vermont supports that intent, but because of how the language that was done through House Ag is written, we're concerned that it will incentivize landowners to charge farmers high lease fees for access to their land when these landowners already receive tax breaks for enrolling into current use. So basically what was proposed is that landowners can have land in current use if it's under a 3-year lease, which has always been true, or if they are being paid at least $2,000 for a 25-acre parcel, $75 for every additional acre over 25. So it's one of the concerns is that this is going to incentivize landowners to charge lease fees rather than have a 3-year lease.
I look at it just the opposite. I mean, I've always had land, and I've always had a farmer and all that. And I'm thankful that the farmer would even choose to come and hay the field. And I've actually spent money myself on fertilizer, and they didn't ask me to do that. There was not it, but I just wanted my fields to be healthy and all that. So I hope that doesn't happen in that way, because I don't see it in my neck of the woods as far as that's how it works.
Yeah. So my husband and I, we have 14 acres of pasture in current use. And, you know, I work on a dairy farm part-time, and I have land that's used by that dairy farm under current use. And it's really clear to me the difference between having access to land to lease to a farmer and being a farmer myself. When I'm on the dairy farm, I'm fencing, I'm moving animals, monitoring their health, assessing pasture quality, and making sure they're well fed. As someone with land in current use, I don't do any of that. I make sure the land's available, I communicate with the farmer, sign a 3-year lease. It's worth it to me because, like you said, I get to see the land stewarded and improve the grazing, and I'm increasing this pasture base that's available to a farm. I love to see that. And the current use program makes holding on to those 14 acres more affordable and incentivizes it for me to keep it in agriculture, but I don't need a lease fee for that. And current use helps protect land access for farmers by lowering their tax burden and incentivizing landowners to offer unused land up for farm management. The greatest challenge for young farmers and farm workers looking to get into farming, as I'm sure you know, is land access. I would be unable to farm myself if it weren't for access to my parents' land, because the land I live on is too rocky for vegetable farming. And all the viable land near me is far beyond the economic reach of someone making $40,000 a year. If we want to keep young people in the state and make it possible for them to farm, they need to be able to afford to access land to pursue a high capital, low profit endeavor. Incentivizing landowners to ask for a $2,000 lease fee instead of a 3-year lease will only make land less affordable and less accessible. Current use doesn't exclude landowners from charging the lease fee, but we don't need to encourage it. Yeah, absolutely.
So, what I'm worried about is putting that 2,000 in, is that
Yeah.
people, like, I have land, like Russ was saying, I have land that I'm happy to have that, to keep it clear, that's what I want the farm to do, so I don't charge them anything,
Right.
because I understand it. But you put that 2,000 in it, and if
And-
they see it, they'll be like, oh, I guess I can charge.
Yeah, or it would be.
Or we should put a minimal amount, or something to keep it, so that somebody, if they pick up that money amount, it's like, well, I've never charged for it, but I guess I should.
Well, right, exactly. As opposed to, they've always been allowed to enroll it by having a 3-year
Well,
lease,
yeah.
which we encourage.
Well, I don't even have mine in land use, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying, if I did, and then I
Right.
was reading the law, and I could get $2,000 an
Right.
acre. Where if it says no fee to a minimum fee
Yes.
to keep the land
Yeah.
clear, that
Right.
might be wiser than putting a dollar amount. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, yes, and I think something, are people leasing some really high quality silage ground for $400 an acre?
Yeah.
Sure. Or is $2,000 an acre or $2,000 for 20 acres for grazing? Can anyone even break even on that? So then you're just incentivizing landowners or telling landowners that that's a reasonable thing to charge for achievement.
But that's something I definitely want to stay.
Yeah.
It's like you put a dollar amount, somebody who wasn't charging you, like all of a sudden charging now. It's like,
Right.
why are you charging me? Well, it says here. But
Yeah, and so those $2,000 are in there originally because the farm needs to be making $2,000 in order to qualify as current use.
Mhm.
So we're encouraging, if this comes to you guys, and we're encouraging House Ag to change subsection C of this so that land is eligible for current use if it's used by a farmer who produces an annual gross income from the sale of crops or grazing of at least $2,000, rather than that $2,000 is because it's a lease fee of $2,000.
Okay. So it's gonna come to us. We're gonna have more time to talk about that. Let's get on to what else that you have so that we don't take up your time.
Perfect, thank you so much.
Thanks.
So I think maybe we go through the people who are in the room first. So Sarah, if you would be open, to go first.
Good morning.
Morning, good morning.
So thank you so much for seeing me again.
Yeah.
For the record, my name is Sarah Dias. I am a rural Vermont board member, a farmer and an educator in Newfane, Vermont. As you know, I gave testimony here in Senate Ag for food resilience, with the food bank in Nova, Vermont 3 weeks ago.
I think that turned out fairly well for you. I did take off that from 500 to 885,000.
I just got an advocacy update from the food bank yesterday, in fact, saying like they were super pleased with the results. So I want to thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
During that testimony, I was briefly asked about municipal exemption, and I want to clarify my stance on that because we didn't have a lot of time to talk about it on that day.
Okay.
I'm extremely concerned about the issue and how aggressive the solutions being proposed are. To start, towns simply don't have the expertise or capacity to oversee agricultural operations. Furthermore, opening farms up to scrutiny based on unneighborly discord or disagreements, which is in part how we lost farmer exemption in the first place, is a wild act of agricultural endangerment that will divert critical time and resources for both towns, farms, and the relevant agencies that regulate us. When we first started out, our neighbors weren't unhappy about increased traffic on our private road and some other picadillos. Someone called the town with several specious claims to have an EPA rep come. When someone from the town arrived, he was clear that there was no issue with what we were doing. When I expressed surprise that Newfane had its own EPA rep, he told me that he was actually an accountant. This man had no qualification whatsoever to assess our operation. We quickly decided to file a Schedule F and register as an LLC with the state so that we could both ensure that we had access to expertise about regulatory compliance and that we were protected from future petty grievance. In those first years, we went from making under $600 a year to just over $2,000, but our income was extremely variable based on large but necessary capital investments, our capacity as we were both working full-time off-farm jobs, and instability while we found our markets. Without access to programs and protections through filing a Schedule F almost 10 years ago, it seems impossible that we would be the strong community resource that we are today. A resource that I want to make clear still makes too little money and sits on too few acres to qualify for most programs. A huge part of the work that we do is teaching folks how to grow their own food, from home growers to new farmers. We don't farm what most people would consider extremely arable land. It's very rocky. It's on a hillside. It has water that flows through it in like a very inconvenient way. But it's the 2 acres that came with the house that we have. And it's the best way to show that everyone can grow food right where they are. It's critical that we start to remember our foodways and that folks feel capable to provide for themselves and their communities. A new study just confirmed that small-scale farmers produce more of the rich world's food than previously thought. That isn't news to small farmers like me. In the fight against climate catastrophe and polycrisis, home growers through small farms are the future, and I heard just this morning you say that, Senator. Blocking access to funding, expertise, and protections puts our resilient future in peril. The right to grow food and distribute it is an issue that comes up year after year, and we have the chance to get it right and to close the issue once and for all. Last year, the legislature was asked to increase our ability to manage our community's food needs by strengthening the cottage food law. And there's a bill up this session in the House right now on the right to grow gardens, because more and more tenants are finding landlords and HOAs are prohibiting small home gardens. We must codify the right to grow food, including the right to raise livestock and sell food products from small operations for everyone, and send a message that further enclosures of the land will not be allowed. Some of our northern neighbors have made great progress on food sovereignty. In November of 2021, Maine became the first U.S. state to constitutionalize the right to food. We can join them in protecting the deeply held heritage of our state, and indeed, we can do better. As a regenerative no-till farmer, I need policymakers to understand that land stewardship is much more complicated than agriculture for extraction alone. Not all practices that are critical to care for the land are lucrative. Moreover, agriculture at any scale without livestock is not healthy for the land, and food sovereignty without the ability to access or produce healthy, affordable proteins cannot be considered complete. I've heard that restoration of the farmer exemption is top of mind, and I want to thank you so much for your diligence on this critical matter. In addition to restoring those protections, I urge you to ensure that current guidelines under the RAPs remain intact. Farmers must be able to schedule a File F as adequate proof of eligibility. Additionally, the right to grow food free from municipal regulation must be codified for everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for coming in. We appreciate it very much.
I'm happy to answer questions if anyone has.
I think we're starting to, we're gonna figure this out. We're gonna spend some time on today. We're gonna shut the door. We'll be live, but, we're gonna just, I don't know that we have really had time as a committee to sit right down and see where everybody is. We've had general discussions and I've been respectful of that. We have, people, we have a lot of people. We have a lot of people that want different things. What's very important to me is all of that, but also where my committee lies. Everybody's got a piece here or there that's important to them from what they're hearing, either from their constituents, which is most important, but of all things, all farmers in the state. So I think that no matter what happens, we're going to come out on the right side of this for everyone. It might not be what everybody wants, and I'm not putting any signals out there to be ready for anything. To be fair, when I tell you that I don't know where we're going to end up totally with all the language. Again, I want to trust my committee to do the right things and the right work, and they have very ranging and broad opinions of it. But we'll all be winners when we're all said and done. It is not a one and done. It will be a moving target in the right direction. So I think that's what everyone really needs to remember. I have, sorry for the rant, but I have some appreciation for how this year has gone, with your groups, the NOPA groups, all the groups, that have come into, the legacy groups as far as the farm bureaus and stuff like that. I'm thankful that we have gotten to a place to where we've all recognized that we're all farmers in different areas in different ways. And proud of how you all have come together to find out that it's pretty fragile once a decision's made. And I think we're getting there. We're all working together. After this is done, I really hope that we can still encourage everyone to push hard to represent all farmers, no matter whether you agree with it or not. And I think we've done a really nice job. You folks have done a really nice job. So we're appreciative of that.
And if I may, just to make it clear, the OCT and the Department of Agriculture, they've negotiated and they're just very close. And so the last little bit they kind of threw on us. And so we'll navigate that. But to piggyback on Senator Ingles, first and foremost, our job is to represent the farmers and make sure that farmers have the best option for them. So, and through this committee, that's what we've done. That's what we have done. I say push, and we'll continue to do that. So
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah. Then we'll just pass it to. Sure.
Thank you.
Very well, thank you.
I'm Kirsten Tyler. I live in Westford, Vermont. This is my first time here and my first time testifying, so
Oh, wow.
excuse me if I'm so nervous.
Sarah Collmore, as gruff as he looks. So
I'm going to read my testimony, and then, if you have any questions or if you want to stop me at any point in time, then please do so, because I would like it to be a conversation, but I'm nervous, so I'm going to read it. I'm sorry
we're
about
doing
that.
fine.
Thank you for the opportunity to testify today and listen to farmers. I'm here today to ask you to restore the longstanding municipal exemption for farms that was lost under the recent Supreme Court ruling, and establish a right to grow food that includes reasonable allowances for livestock, plants, and other forms of food production. A little bit about me. My family owns just 1 acre of land in Westford. We lease another 10 acres. So we grow a half an acre of certified organic vegetables, and we raise pasture-based rabbits on 5 acres of that leased land. Rocky Hill Farm is a small farm, but it is a big part of our livelihood. We are relatively new farmers. When we decided to start farming in 2020, we were living on rented land. And like many Vermonters, we wanted to buy a large parcel, but the housing market is extremely expensive and limited. So we rented for several years before we were finally able to buy, but we could only afford 1 acre. So we, while renting, we wanted to raise livestock for meat, but we couldn't invest in permanent infrastructure like fencing or a barn because we didn't own the land and we didn't want to put our money into something like that wasn't ours. After extensive research, we found meat rabbits could be a possibility for us renters with very minimal startup. Rabbits are uniquely suited to small parcels of land. They're quiet and docile. They can be raised in small hutches or in small movable pens on a very small amount of pasture or even a lawn. They don't create the noise or odor concerns often associated with other livestock, and biologically, they are incredibly efficient. A decent number of rabbits can be raised responsibly on a very small footprint. And in my experience, one could raise easily 65 rabbits on just 1 acre, which could feed a family of 4 for, I'd say, a year. The 323 S323 explicitly protects small backyard poultry flocks from municipal regulation, and I'm asking to ensure that small livestock like rabbits are explicitly included as well. So we started with just 2 females and 1 male, and we were off and running. Now we raise over 300 pastured rabbits a year for restaurants in our region, and we cannot fill the demand. So rabbits are growing as a livestock species. They were our entry point into farming because they are practical for small land bases and folks who don't have secure permanent land. And since then, we've had to move our entire farm twice. Our little livestock made it possible for us to be movable, and we were able to move because we raised rabbits. So protections for agriculture also made it possible for us to move our farm onto several different properties.
Like most new farms, we started very small. When we started, we made well under $5,000 a year. And we were growing vegetables and raising livestock on less than an acre. Farming businesses like ours take time to build markets and infrastructure and production capacity, and small acreage and low revenue are not signs that something is not a farm. In my opinion and my experience, they are actually how farms begin. And so that's why the change to raise the RAP's income threshold from 2,000 to 5,000 concerned me very much. But say if farms under 1 acre or making less than 5,000 annually lose protection, and you're not just redefining the eligibility around farms, but you're also like raising the drawbridge or the fence in front of the next generation of new farmers. Moreover, restoring the municipal exemption for farms is essential. Without it, municipalities could regulate farms through zoning in ways that create uncertainty and instability for some livestock species. If regulatory authority shifts to municipalities, that means that decisions about livestock will ultimately rest with the local select boards. Membership can change every few years. As those boards change, ordinances or priorities can change. So a farmer could be allowed to raise livestock under one board and then face different restrictions under the next. And so this level of uncertainty is difficult to plan or invest in a business. And the same goes across town lines. Different towns that have different rules. So this patchwork system is subject to frequent local change and makes the long-term stability of having a farm basically impossible. So to finish, rabbits are a healthy, efficient source of protein. They can be raised humanely on small acreage, and they contribute to diversified, self-sufficient farmsteads. They are familiar to many new American communities. They are part of a resilient local food system, and they should be explicitly included in the protections for livestock under the right to grow food. So I urge you to restore the municipal exemption for farms and create a right to grow food that includes reasonable livestock protections, so that small farms like mine can continue to contribute to Vermont's local food system. Thank you.
So, at what age do you harvest a rabbit?
Because we do pasture raised, we do 14 weeks.
14 weeks. And what would the weight be of a dressed rabbit at that point in time?
About 3 pounds.
3 pounds?
Yeah.
And do you do just whole rabbits? Do you do any parts and parcels of it? I know that we did some chicken stuff as far as being allowed to, actually try to call them or report the bill as far as be able to, harvest chicken. Do you do parts and pieces or just whole rabbits?
We're not allowed to do parts and pieces.
Okay.
That is something that we would love to do, but yeah, no, we're not allowed to do parts and pieces.
Okay.
And we do have our rabbits slaughtered at a USDA approved facility, the only one in Vermont. And so, yes, I did actually
Where's
want to
that?
mention this. It's Phil Brown's meat.
Okay, yeah. Good friend
Okay.
of mine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, he is?
Yeah.
Wonderful man.
Yeah.
We've had him slaughter or process our rabbits for the last 5 years, and he has dropped hints that he wants to close the rabbit part of his operation. And if that is the case, then we would have no USDA approved rabbit slaughtering
Was,
facilities in the
the
state.
leading person on rabbit harvesting and raising, a long time ago, so.
Yeah, Vermont Rabbitry.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if that does happen where we lose him, then we won't be able to sell to restaurants, like, unless they have something on their menu. But really, we don't want to slaughter 300 rabbits on our own farm. We would like to do that at a USDA certified or approved facility. So
Have you started,
exploring.
see if you could get somebody to pick it up?
Yeah,
Sounds like a good business.
it is, and it's growing too. Like we can't meet demand for restaurants. We have talks with Maple Wind and some other folks that slaughter animals, and it's, rabbits are just a little bit different. They're pretty easy and fast, but they're much smaller than any of the other larger livestock. And in terms of poultry and rabbit, you have to have things very, very separate because of the regulations around poultry versus mammals. So I think it would be expensive and difficult and complicated to put a rabbit slaughter facility in another slaughter facility area.
I'll have you get a hold of Heather Lane. She might be able to, Heather Lane is her name.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, we
So,
explored this with
On this zoning, that you realize that most of this is only affecting tier 1, and what they say, there's only like 5 places in Vermont that are gonna be affected by it. And what that's doing is keeping, like, if you wanted to bring your rabbit farm into a tier 1, which is a densely populated village area, that's where this zoning may have authority to say, we don't want that.
I understand that, but under 1 acre, I mean, if you look at like a little rabbit farm, the size of this table could raise like 20 rabbits per, round.
Nobody's
or
saying you can't do it.
4 or
just
5
that-
or 6
that-
rounds per year. And so that's like feeding a family of 4 could happen on this table.
And nobody's saying you can't do it, it's just that they might hit the zone that they shouldn't be doing it, and if you got caught, then you might have to shut it down.
Which would be terrible for a family,
I understand.
for a family that raises
You
rabbits.
you
for their
understand the
primary
balance that we're up against.
feast. Yeah, definitely. I
Let's-
understand.
Spend a few minutes, but Chairman, can I jump on you? Do we have a question?
I just, the only thing, have you had pushback from anyone concerning, rabbits?
Yeah, in terms of who or what,
Yes.
you know?
The eating of them.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, that's funny. We call it the cuteness effect. Yeah, sure. There are some people who are like, oh my, I can't believe you ate that.
Just so we're clear,
Yeah.
I am, I am bored. I was tricked into having rabbit. Well, it was when I was young.
Okay.
I know, thank you very much. And my parents are from the South, and my mom said it was chicken, and I said, wow, this is the best chicken I've ever had. And so I just, so we're clear, I was just.
You just
curious.
got after you found out they didn't really lay chocolate eggs.
Yes.
I want to spend a few minutes, and I'm gonna cap it because I don't want to get, I'm gauging out what we have in the room. I want to just, spend a few minutes at some point in time, and maybe we can do it now, or maybe we do it later, the $2,000 to $5,000. About how many people that you think that's gonna impact. That's a very, very important topic with us right now. The $2,000 to $5,000. I want real stuff, guys. I want real stuff. You go ahead, Caroline, go ahead. You know what I want to talk about.
I mean, one thought I have about that, the state administration and executive branch legislature, the most concern is always afforded to the dairy farms we're losing, our largest farms. We're going to be down to 100 in the foreseeable future. When you look at the USDA census data, there's over 6,000 farms in Vermont. And many of those farms are small farmers. Most of them are small farmers in the state. Many of them do work off the farm, and we don't know exactly what the income is they make, but we assume like it's all across the board, and we know on the national average the net income is negative. So that's why the income barriers for many programs has been held on the down, and it keeps being held on the down nationwide. Like what we talked about, current use, that income of $2,000, not more is required in any other state in the country. So I think that's just the image I would share on that question.
Yep. Yeah. Anyone, please, yep. Please jump in.
Yeah.
Just tell us who you are,
Well-
and you'll have to do it again.
Well,
Yeah.
my name's Henry Harris. I've got a small farm in Marshfield. Thanks so much for having us all today. And I just want to say that I know that you guys know how hard it is to mobilize like an educated legislature, the ag committee, and try to make policy that makes sense for everybody in the state of Vermont. I grew up in Troy and Caledonia County. Jack Starr was my bus driver as a little kid, Bob Starr's brother. And I watched all these select boards, they're just desperately trying to figure out where to find their butts with both hands, coming in and be meaningful civil servants. They are vulnerable to the development interest in their communities, whereas the farmers don't have time to eat lunch, much less track what's going on downtown. You know what I mean? And so, I was sued by my town for having an agricultural education camp, right? Now they were just trying to follow their own zoning, and they didn't even know about accessory on farm business law. As many times as I would send it to them, they were decent enough folks, but they sued me for like 3 years. I still owe $5,000. My farm is oriented towards education for kids. I do education for kids around the state. I work with a number of conservation districts, and And it was just wild to be shut down by these people who were just trying to do the right job. They just weren't adequate to be able to regulate what's
Okay.
going on. in
Let's keep it
agriculture.
on the 2 to 5,000. That's where I want to
Well,
get.
I get $2,000 a year selling sapling trees so that I can have my farm designation, be left alone by municipal zoning, and continue to do education work for animals and all kind. And I just got to say, I know you guys know that Vermont is the 7th most food insecure state in the country. I also know we don't know where we're going economically and how families are going to be feeding themselves in the 10 to 20-year period. I don't know. Am I reaching you guys with this? Do you feel real confident about the economy right now? Because I don't. All right. And if we're hearing Caroline say there's 6,000 farms in the state of Vermont, that's the kind of decentralized mobilization for feeding ourselves that we may need. And I'd say we need right now, right? I think we got to go back to where we were with the Agency of Ag regulating
And you
everything.
know that isn't going to happen, right?
Why not?
Because it's not passive.
Because
It's
the
not passive.
development lobby is too strong?
No, it's not passable. The Supreme Court, the law of the state of
Thank you.
Vermont has
Thank you.
ruled.
Yep.
And so we have to somewhat comply with that. So you need to be realistic with us as well.
It was
It's
my,
not going back to that. So
so
that's
the
why we're
Supreme Court
doing
was
it.
kind of overreach and one guy did the job.
No,
of
the Supreme
entire
Court, we're
legislature.
not gonna say that. We're not gonna say that at all. The Supreme Court is the law of the land. And so it's not going back to that. I need you to understand that. And that's why we're trying to get the best compromise here. So that's where we're at. So, yes.
So one clarifying thing is that Senator Heffernan,
Thank you.
you mentioned the tier one. He said, no, you want to stick to 2,000, but I just wanted to clarify that from our perspective, the tier one is going to be almost every village around the state. The tier 1A is.
Yeah, tell me something.
I just want to say, we have other members
Right.
who came, who might address,
Right.
want to share their own perspectives.
Absolutely.
And not everybody wants to talk about this specific issue, and I know we're running out of time. I'll get that close.
Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You did a wonderful job.
Yeah, don't be nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't be nervous.
So maybe if you want.
Thanks for the information on the rabbits. I didn't realize.
No, that was very interesting.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Mary Linehan. I'm from Stratford. I'm a small landholder where we have a garden, big garden, and we have a couple of animals to keep our land clear because we value that clear land.
Yeah.
It's also right in the town. Stratford, and if you know you've been there, is made up of 2 villages. We have enormous farmland in between the villages.
Hmm.
It's beautiful. It's used. It's valued. We love our farms. I'm also on the select board. I'm not speaking for the select
No, I
board,
like it.
but I do have a perspective over the last 7 years of having worked to manage some of the issues that come up for my town. And I want to just point out that in the last 7 years, while I've been on the board, I can count 6 small agricultural farms that have been started.
Yeah.
That's in addition to the ones that are already there. We see that as an important livelihoods issue. It's fantastic for food resilience and self-sustainability. During COVID, Stratford felt quite comfortable because we had a couple of CSAs, we had meat in the freezer, we had a dairy. We knew that if things got really, really bad, we'd be okay. We could feed ourselves. And I'm a public health professional, so that was really important to me. And I would then like to comment on the goodness of the will of select boards. They really do try hard. We are ill-equipped, which is why we send an accountant sometimes to do the business. We're all well-meaning, but I can tell you, I really rely on the Department of Agriculture for agricultural guidance. I don't want that removed. It really doesn't help my town for me as a public health, human health official to make uninformed decisions. So we would really like to maybe make sure that we continue to be guided by that expertise. It's extremely important. The other thing I wanted to highlight was the sort of the way the map was done. Because I'm on the select board, I was party to the Two Rivers effort to help us map our town. And I can tell you, we didn't have in our minds when we approved that map any knowledge of how this would impact on farmers. And I can tell you that the mapping would be different should the municipalities be defined by tier 1A. It covers too many of our small farmers. We would like to revisit that map at the very least, because we would do a lot of damage to really important production units that are right in the town, because of the way our town is, it runs through a valley where there are rivers. That's how our town was built.
Right. Right.
If we take
Like
this
most
right away,
communities
like
work
most of
around
them,
water,
right?
right.
So the nature, the culture, the values of our town really are to maintain this and cultivate these cultivators. We really want them to, we want them to have a livelihood. We want them to live there. We want them to stay there and be self-sufficient. So that's my take on this. I really think that select boards are really not in a position necessarily to take on some of these important zoning issues. It's complicated, it's very legalistic. We're not equipped. We rely on VLCT. We love them. They're really helpful, but I think that we're getting these maps worry me because they exclude my ability to have 2 cows to keep my field clean and feed my family.
They don't exclude.
Well, they could.
Right.
And that I guess that's the other thing. As select board member, I can see the big changes in my town. We are getting a lot of people moving to the state, moving to our town, which is great. We want them there. But when they become members of the select board, they're sometimes very ill-informed about some of their neighbors' livelihoods, their needs. They're well-meaning, but they don't have time to learn about the history of the town,
Right.
and can inadvertently do damage by changing zoning laws in order to try and conform to what they understand the law to be. So it's that in-depth knowledge which we sometimes lack, and I think it is realistic to be concerned about the constant turnover at select boards. This year we had 5, 4 dropped out. I'm going to start with a whole new team. I just want you to be aware of how,
Oh, yeah.
despite their really goodwill and their strong intent, it takes them 6 months to just come to terms.
So I served on the select board.
And I'm sure you all know exactly.
You made a very good point to this committee. Very proud of this committee. I think it's the first time I ever said that. But it is because the point that you made was that Summit Farm started during that time, and we recognize that, and we recognize that very much, that is the way that we are going to grow farming. As Caroline had said, there's 6,000, out of the dairy farm, there's 6,000 farms. So we do understand that it is going to, that's how we're gonna grow agriculture in the state of Vermont if we want to remain an ag state. We do fight for the smallest of the small. We do. Very proud of that. So yeah, that is that's something we do, and your testimony was valuable as far as giving us different twists as far as with the select board and stuff. My thing is this. There are always very well-meaning, intended people that want to step up and run. But sometimes to preserve with what you have, you got to get uncomfortable and go do it yourself sometimes. You can't ask others to do the work that you want done by asking them to do it if you don't want the outcome. So, a broader message, I guess, and not too much off topic, but plenty off. But if you want what you have and you want to preserve what you have, it's worth taking your time to go make that happen. So as we are sitting in this room and very busy lives, everyone here has something that they have going on in their lives that come, and I don't want to say this in a bad way, but donate our time. Yes, we get paid, but it's a donation of our time to come here. So I would always push everyone, if you want to change the outcome and you want it to be the way that you want, you have to get involved. Thank you. Thanks.
And then we have a couple folks joining on the screen. I'm not sure if Michael Fernandez is still joining us virtually.
Yes. Oh, sorry.
Good morning, everyone. Michael Fernandez for the record. Most of you know me from my work with the Bennington County Conservation District. I'm taking that hat off today and speaking to you all as a new Vermonter, a young beginning farmer, and a recent transplant into this great state. And I just hearing the testimony in the room so far, I'm going to go off my script here. And just say off the top, since the question that you all are asking yourselves around this $2,000 threshold seems to be of really paramount importance. When our business model is a relatively complex one, we're an agritourism based agroecology operation. My role in the company is growing the food, managing the livestock, and maintaining 6 campsites along the Battenkill River. My mother is starting a little cooking school, and my partner and my sister are assisting with all aspects of that operation. And a big part of why we made the decision to locate in Vermont as opposed to just across the river. We're located in West Arlington, as opposed to right across the state line in New York, where we already currently own some land in Argyle, was the $2,000 threshold, that we could start small, we could invest small and grow over time. But also the Act 250 zoning and farm structure and farm road designations. When we were looking and comparing between New York, where the zoning restrictions are a lot more stringent, even though it's a right to grow state, and the threshold for agriculture is, I believe, $10,000. At least it was 5 years ago, when we were doing research on this. So when we were comparing this, we're looking at cheaper ground in New York, but higher upfront investment costs to really get started versus much more expensive land with higher rates of tax, the welcome to Vermont tax here in the state of Vermont, but then access to these lower thresholds. So we wouldn't need to put so much capital at risk in our first years of starting this business. So I really want to emphasize how important that was in our decision-making process, and also how important it's been, as I work all over the state, not just in Bennington County. Over the last 4 years, I've talked to hundreds upon hundreds of producers, ranging from 100 square foot aquaponics grows in people's basements all the way up to multi-thousand acre grazing operations. And one of the things that has been a theme throughout my work with the district, just to fuzzy up the lines a little bit here, is what a lot of folks have already been saying. Some of the most frequent people who move to Vermont that we interact with, and I've interacted with over the last 4 years to start families, to grow a business, are working lands enterprises. And oftentimes they're started in these really small contexts, either tier 1 or sometimes tier 2, small backyard residential areas where people can do things like start a rabbitry or start a small vegetable or cut herb farm. And another family of the tree of life that has not been discussed, that I think it's really important to discuss, is mushroom production. And I would really encourage you all to consider adding mushroom production to the other exemptions that are being discussed. We don't currently raise mushrooms here at Battenkill Groves. However, we are aware, and I work with in my 9 to 5, a number of small to medium scale mushroom producers within tier 1 areas that could be very heavily impacted by both the right to grow changes, and are already being impacted by the changes coming down from Act 181. These farms serve, especially in Arlington, which over the last number of years has become a food desert. We even lost our Dollar General for over most of the winter, so there was literally almost nowhere to purchase food. And the only place you could go was Soul Connection Farm, owned by Patrick and Cassie McLaughlin in East Arlington, where they grow in their basement thousands upon thousands of pounds of fresh mushrooms every year, using a waste stream from a sawmill directly up the road that would otherwise be diverted into a landfill. So by incorporating mushroom production and rabbit production protections into this initial legislation, you will in effect allow for a whole agro ecosystem to be put in place. You'll have rabbits for herbivory, being able to process grass clippings, tree leaves, ramial wood bark, and converting that into protein. And then that ramial wood mulch and any potential incoming waste streams from other local businesses that are producing a carbon-based waste can be processed at scale in really small, tight settings in urban areas, and can provide a key food sovereignty tool in the larger network. It's really incredibly well suited to these specific areas where, similar to rabbits, low odor, very few management considerations that could impact the wider public. And we continue to see more and more of these small scale operations popping up as people move into the state, buying into Vermont's brand that it's a friendly place to start a working lands business. You can get your current use with a relatively low barrier of entry at that $2,000 level and a Schedule F so that we can get started and we can keep moving. But I want to move on just briefly to some of these changes that have come down through Act 181, specifically the Tier 3 designations that I'm still frankly struggling to understand. I feel like to become a farmer in this state, you almost need a master in public policy just to navigate all of this stuff at this point. And I look at it every day and I'm still somewhat confused by it. But as I understand it, my ability to implement our business model, multi-generational family on a small farm site with farm stays, I would, if I'm not able to get construction done by the end of this year in order to construct the barn and apartment, the barn dominium, as it's commonly called, to house myself and my partner, so my mother can have the main house. We would need to go through an extremely rigorous, potentially need to go through an extremely rigorous planning process, where in the past we would have been able to not hire, a bunch of outside engineers, deal with Act 250 compliance. We would be able to get our agricultural building exemption from the Agency of Agriculture, go ahead and construct that building under supervision of the town, but not need to spend tens of thousands of dollars to develop plans and go through that permitting process. If that ends up taking place, we'll be forced to reevaluate our business strategy. We're currently already outgrowing our small 10-acre parcel and are looking around in Bennington County for other acreage to purchase or long-term lease. And if these 181 exemptions or 250 exemptions are eliminated on roads and structures, we're not going to be purchasing any more farm grounds in Vermont. We will be purchasing, all of our purchases moving forward will be in the Battenkill Basin on the New York side of the line. The land is considerably cheaper. A farm up in Rupert right now that we were looking at before reviewing all of these new rules that are coming down is priced at about $3,200 an acre. Right across the state line in New York, I can be looking at $900 to $1,500 per acre for better ground. But we established in this state because we believe in a lot of what this state stands for. We want to be part of this really direct experiment in democracy and food systems development. And we think a lot of things that are happening here are incredibly exciting. But at the end of the day, we are a business, and the opportunity cost of being part of the Vermont experiment is beginning to exceed our ability to eat that cost. So I'd really encourage, and I know you all are thinking about this already. We've worked together for a long time at this point, and I know your intentions are incredibly good. But we seem to keep shooting ourselves in the foot when it comes to getting young people to move into the state, and further restricting young families' ability to move into this state, start these businesses that every state plan on food security, agricultural security says we want to have happen. Adding all of these new restrictions on top of what already exists is getting to the point that anyone would be insane to move to Vermont and start an agricultural business here. And I just want to illustrate this with one example. A producer that we've been working with for 3 years now that moved here from another state for the same reasons we did. They bought into the Vermont brand. They want to be part of what's going on here. They've been in the process of building an accessory dwelling unit for their aging parents for about 2 years now. And even without these new changes to Act 181, it's still very difficult for them to develop that property in a way that's responsible and in line with state guidance. Because just to put in a prefabricated, pre-engineered septic system, that one of the partners on the farm was a CB for 10 years, really good at putting stuff in the ground. they would need just for engineering review to put the septic tank in the ground $30,000, which, just to put it into context, if they put it in themselves, which I farmed in Oregon, I farmed all over the country, this would be something that they would be able to do in other states. Total cost to design, since it's a prefabricated system, and install it would be $5,000. So there's already a lot of barriers to people moving to this state to start these businesses that we as a citizenry and a community say that we want. And I just would encourage you all to yield to the better angels of your nature, and affirm Vermonters' right to grow food, and try and figure out ways to reduce some of the impacts of these restrictions. I know there's needs to be compromise as the state continues to grow and develop and change in the face of climate impacts. But it's getting really difficult. And all of these changes coming down the pike are making a lot of us scratch our heads and wonder why we invested in this state. I love this state. I don't want to leave. But at the end of the day, the business makes the decisions based on money. And these restrictions are costing more than they're worth.
Thank you, Michael. We're gonna move on just because Caroline's got some more folks there. Thank you for what you've done. We appreciate you very much.
Thank you all for your time. I know we have like 7 more minutes, but I think we have one more participant on the screen. Buster, if you're still with us, the next 5 minutes are yours.
Can I ask Kristen, do
Yeah.
you file Schedule F?
Yeah.
You do? Okay.
But we only started to do that in 2022, maybe. So 2 years or 3 years really after we started farming,
Okay.
we started filing Schedule F.
Thank you.
And why did you do that?
Why did we file a Schedule F?
Not a trick question, it's just something swirled around the committee. So why did you file Schedule F?
Because we had a loss on our business that year, and so we wanted to include it on our tax return.
Okay.
That's not on it. So
No,
That's just
not-
tax code is for. Yeah, yeah.
Right, okay.
Thank you.
Buster, time is yours, sir.
Good morning, leaders. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yep.
Thumbs up? Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, leaders, for your valuable time. The symbol of agriculture.
Buster, if you can introduce yourself too for the.
I'm sorry. Yes, my name is Ernest Caswell. My grandmother wanted a Buster, so I'm commonly known as Buster. I work at Champlain Orchards. I am not at all speaking on behalf of Champlain Orchards. I just do my part. And I'm also grew up in Randolph, Vermont. I presently live in Bristol, Vermont. Former FFA member. I hope you saw lots of FFA jackets this year. It was just recently National FFA Week, and we need more FFA agricultural within our great state so we can continue growing food for our state and our communities, our farmers and our farm workers, and our future depends on agriculture. And agriculture in this present day is extremely challenging and has a lot of history. And Reverend Jesse Jackson, a lesson. You can't plant a seed and pick the fruit the next morning. These things take time and understanding. And we must work with the understanding city versus rural, higher education versus lower education, and bring all the opportunities needed to grow food within our state with fewer barriers, fewer regulations, and more opportunities. at the Orchard and other places that I have worked, I've worked with outstanding colleagues. And they deserve the same opportunities we all do, an opportunity to grow food if they want to. They might be farm workers, but they deserve every opportunity. And farm workers come from all over the world, Mexico, Canada, Jamaica. And to grow food in this great state, our symbol of agriculture is sitting on a home. We all deserve access to a safe, affordable home. Vermont Housing and Conservation Board has generously gave funding to Champlain Housing Trust to start work, which just began a couple years ago, to work on, there's two parts of it, repairing homes and building homes on the farms, based on a report that's only 65 pages long. And that report is outdated and focused on the farm housing. When we look in other states at the opportunities that have been created to build homes for farmers and farm workers, they are further advanced. They have documentation that demonstrates the needs and the recommendations, and those are not necessarily found here in Vermont, because we need to hear the voices of our farm workers and our farmers on the ability to grow and develop homes in our agricultural communities. And furthermore, freedom and unity. We all must come together and listen to each other. There's lots of agricultural advocates and organizations within our state. Addison Allies, UVM, Migrant Justice, Milk with Dignity, Pathstone Corporation, another organization. And we need to listen to those organizations. We cannot fear other organizations on how they are structured. We should be listening to those folks and bringing those in, because they have the best experience and knowledge on what it takes to grow food and live in our state. And furthermore, we need to lift up everyone in the agricultural community, regardless of where they come. Mexico, Jamaica, Puerto Rico.
Buster, I just want to give
Yes.
you a 2-minute warning. We're up against it.
Okay.
All
I
right.
apologize.
No worries.
Now, please provide funding for the farm worker housing program so that can be ongoing. It's necessary, and it just started, and it's completely successful. And also try to bring in other opportunities at the national level. We need more mental health services, support farm first. Agricultural is essential, everybody in it. And I would recommend watching The Underdog, a documentary of a farmer out of Middlebury, Vermont, who I once worked for. And if you haven't seen The Underdog, it gives you a different perspective, and you might find that documentary online. And they partnered with Farm First So thank you for your time, and please listen to folks upon your decisions, and freedom and unity is needed more. Thank you for your time, leaders.
Thank you guys for your time. Carolyn, do you have any closing comments? Just kind of quick.
No, just much appreciation for making the time. I know we're close to crossover and I know every minute counts right now, so really appreciate you hearing from us today.
We appreciate all of you. We really do. Yeah, we appreciate all what you do sincerely. So thank you.
Thank you.
Committee, just gonna take our 2 minute